Yes. So welcome everyone to day 2 of our 3-day leadership challenge, where we're going to talk about recognizing your roadblocks. And I always love this day 2 because there's so many ahas. And, a lot of the time we can't really figure out what's holding us back until we start having discussions around it and looking at where it may come from, and are you willing to own it? But before we get to that, I want to just talk briefly about yesterday, just your thoughts. You guys did the workshop. Did anybody, Joanna just gave us some feedback there that she appreciated the idea of getting a clearer path to where she wants to be at the top of her business. So does anyone else have feedback? I mean, there's no everything's good. So, I'd love to hear from you guys if you got anything.
It was great to open the vision and make us think big again. I think I needed that.
Yeah, no kidding, right?
Yes, yes. Because we sometimes just, with the COVID and everything, start to narrow down our vision, and it was really nice to get that out again. Thank you.
Yeah, great. Anyone else?
I just picked up some nice little tidbits like the multiple streams of income. And you mentioned affiliate marketing, which I'm going to check into that. Like just some little things I picked up, which was really nice.
Cool. Yeah. I always I've been teaching for over 30 years, whether it's martial arts. I would go into these classes where there were 500 guys, like cops, and I'd have to teach. And you better know your stuff when you're walking in there, right? And so, when you go into a course and you're learning, it's like shopping for shoes. And we've all done it, ladies. Okay, we go in, we try on 50 pairs of shoes, and what do you walk out with? One, maybe 2 pairs, right? Or nothing, right? And so it's kind of like, that's how it is when you go to things like this. So, any nuggets you take away, keep those and use those and move forward with them. The rest of it, if it doesn't serve you at this time, you got it if you need it in the future, right? So that's kind of how I look at learning. And I just really think when I go for learning, I love the fact that I get the recording or I get all the information later, because I will refer back to it, when my circumstances change. If they do, I'll be like, oh yeah, I remember us talking about that. So cool. So today I'm going to start off, let me just share my screen. Okay, and we are going to, from the beginning. So we are on day 2, which is called recognizing your roadblocks. And again, same principle as yesterday, guys. So I want everybody to interrupt me. If you have questions, I will ask for your feedback. And I know that I'm probably going to press some people's buttons today, and that's the idea. I'm trying to get you out of your comfort zone so that you'll shift into greater. That's what these 3 days are about. Christine, I don't know if you're there, but I know she went to get a tea, but maybe you could come on for just 2 minutes and talk about what happened to you in day 2.
I'm here.
Yeah.
Day 2 was a bag of emotions. It was frustration knowing that, and I said this line in the first one, that playing small, I know I'm playing small, but what's stopping me? I don't know. So there was frustration. And then there was a little bit, as we started to talk about it, I don't want to give too much away, a little bit of sadness and remorse. And then, I had a discussion with my husband, and he's like, what have I been telling you? This lady tells you something and now you believe it. So then there was some realization. So it was really interesting. I have to admit, when I went through it the first time, I was really, I'll tell you, I was totally open and what's the word I'm looking for?
Vulnerable.
I was vulnerable. Yeah, for sure. We had some deep conversations there. I'm not sure I'll be
right. Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, there was just something about, it took me a little bit by surprise, and I'm very appreciative, Laura, of the awareness that it created for me. Cool. And I'm looking forward to hearing it again today and seeing if I can continue to shovel some of that shit out of my way. Pardon my language, ladies, but that's kind of what it felt like in a way.
Cool.
So I'm not sure if that's what you're expecting me to say, but
I want it, whatever you said was fine, right? And you know, I've said to you guys before, you know, expectations are the worst because we are the worst. We put the worst expectations on ourselves. Forget about other people. We're good at that too, but we're really good at doing it to ourselves. And I'm going to tell you one thing about expectations. Expectations are just premeditated disappointments. And you can write that down if you want, because once you understand that, and you think about this, and what, you know, someone said this to me many, many years ago, and I'm like, oh yeah, they're right. I'm expecting this. And then when I don't get it, I'm disappointed. If you could go into your life without a premeditated disappointment or an expectation of something, then things would start to show up however they showed up, and you'd be willing to have that, right? And that, like, think about that, right? Because that alone could shift how you look at things, right? You know, and we use expectations in every area of our life, like, you know, and then we get disappointed, right? And so, you know, I've gotten into the mindset the last 5 or 6 years. I'm like, you know, even when something happens, I'm like, okay, how does it get better than this? What else is possible here? I don't allow myself to say, ah, that didn't, you know, it didn't show up that way. Because, you know, if you got blocks about money and you're expecting money to show up a certain way, man, you're going to be waiting forever. It's never going to happen. How often do things like that show up in your life the way they're supposed to? Never, right? Unless you're in a job where you get a regular paycheck every week, like that's normal. Like that's, you know, but if you're talking about possibilities and more income and success and leadership, you got to have it just the way the universe decides to tell you it's going to show up, and be willing to be aware of when that happens. And it's funny, when Christine said, you know, her husband's like, I've been telling you that forever. Sometimes it takes someone else saying it to us in the exact same words when you finally hear it, right? And, you know, I've had that happen to me, and my husband just rolls his eyes. He's like, oh my God, why couldn't I just hire that person to say it to you 5 years ago, right? So, you know, it doesn't matter how you hear it, but as long as you hear it at some point and you use it for your higher good, or, you know, wherever you want to move to, that's really the important thing. So the first thing I want to talk about today is recognizing your roadblocks. Okay. And what, you know, I want to ask you, what is holding you back from the most, from succeeding and showing up in your life right now? And it's really good to make a list of these things, and, you know, be honest with yourself. Put that list down. You know, what is holding you back from succeeding and showing up in your life? I can tell you for me, and I'm going to talk about some of the things. It's when I talk with people, it's usually fear of different types, money, or they feel they're not good enough. Those are the top three things that I have found. You know, so, and they're common in all of us, because we're not taught as human beings to step into our greatness. We're taught that we play small, because that's all our parents or other people showed us how to do. But that's changing. And I'm noticing a lot of children in the world right now are stepping into power at a very young age. So you know that that's going to shift the earth or the world or whatever it is, you know, in a bigger way as we get older and they get older. What I want to talk about is, okay, so the top things that were noticed of roadblocks, okay? And you may notice the one other thing I want you to notice: when you have roadblocks and you can't get past them, you step into this cycle, okay? And I'll give you a good example. I had one of the people taking this, this challenge, and she was in my course for the 12-week program that this is a part of. And I said, okay, so why can't you move past it? And she goes, well, you know, I go in and I go full out. I feel really good. She had some brain injuries. So she had some issues with, like, she would feel really good. She'd go for it. And then she'd get sick because she didn't mediate her energy. And then she'd go into hibernation for a month because she couldn't handle everything. And then she'd start to feel good again. And then she'd go full out. I'm like, do you recognize the pattern that's going on here? I said, maybe you don't need to go full out. Maybe you need to make a plan where you're here and then everything starts to move as you start to build slowly. You don't have to go into, you know, that cycle again and again and again. It's like being in PTSD in a certain way. And we all do it to some degree, but be aware of, do you have those cycles? As a younger kid, when I was overweight, because I was always the overweight kid in my class, I mean, it was debilitating for me. And I remember I would lose 10 pounds and, people would say, oh, you look so good. And then I'd be like, okay, I feel good. I can relax. And then I'd start to eat junk again. Like it was this really, and I, little did I know that this was all attached to other things that had happened to me, but I could see myself in this pattern. I'm like, this is not good. And, in my 20s, I had to break that pattern because I was seeing it all the time. Right. So something to think about when you're looking at what's blocking you. So I'll give you some of the most common ones for blockages. Living conditions. Okay. I don't live in a good place where I can't have my team over, or right now that's not as applicable because we are in a situation where everything is virtual, but that used to be one that was very common for people. Money, sorry, go ahead. Anybody wanted to make comments? Okay, I'll keep going. Money is a huge roadblock for a lot of people. Now, I want you to think about this. And we're going to talk about this in a bit, where it comes from. What is it about money that you feel blocks you? You don't have enough, you can't get enough, you don't know how to get enough. So really, you want to put that down as one of your things, and you want to, beside that, you're going to put why. Okay, and we're going to take a look at that. Another one is self-esteem, huge, especially for women. Self-esteem, you're never good enough. You're always seen as the weaker sex. I mean, this is something in my entire life. I've been, a big, a big proprietor for women stepping into power, and a lot of the things that I did in my life, I was the first woman to, in that, whatever it was, martial arts, working in corporate on the trading desk in an all male company, like whatever that was. And so, for self-esteem, is it because you don't think you're good enough? You haven't learned enough? Are you worried about how people are going to see you? Like there's all sorts of layers to that. You see what I'm saying? The next one I had is fear, and fear is huge for a lot of people. And a lot of the time, we're going to talk about failure in a minute, but it's fear of success. So what would how would it feel if you were up here? And we talked about this yesterday. Fear of success is like, that actually means you're going to have to own it. You're going to have to take the money associated with that and be willing to help, tons of people or change tons of lives, at that level, and that can be scary for people. And I've seen so many times people who are like, yeah, I want to be successful, this and that. And then they start to move and then they sabotage themselves. Okay. And all of a sudden it's just like, I just can't do it, but yeah, I still want it. So, you know what I mean? So then they go into that loop I talked about, right? And so like, we need to get you out of that loop so that you're actually moving and you're willing to have that success. Another one is not connecting with enough people. And I feel like this kind of, this is twofold. So a lot of us are introverts or aren't comfortable with networking, right? I'm an extroverted introvert, to be honest. I would go teach these classes of 500 people, and then I would go back to my room and stare at the wall for 20 minutes to just not talk to anybody, right? So I had to learn how to put myself out there so that I could connect with everybody, and it's really, really been interesting. Yeah, I get it, Sacha, so what I did to help with that, and this may not be for you, but this is what worked for me, is I started asking people questions about themselves. And, that kind of got me really comfortable about talking to someone because I felt that I could relate to them. But, at the beginning, when someone asked me about me, I'm like, yeah, I do this. And I was very I would push myself down about it. And this is many years ago, believe me. So I understand exactly if that's going on with you, I understand that. So you know what? You're just going to have to get comfortable with putting yourself out there. And the cool thing about that right now is you don't have to put out that energy in person. You could do it virtually, right? Which is where we are all right now. And I don't think that's going away anytime soon. So when you're talking to people and you're an introvert, it's really great to listen. And, you can start the conversation, just say, yeah, I was listening to what you were saying. I noticed you were interested in this. You don't have to make it about you all the time. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can just engage more in the conversation and see where it goes. And you're going to find that will slowly bring you out of your shell. Okay. So that's more than I wanted to say, but I'm happy I said it. Okay. COVID again has created roadblocks for people. And, you know, someone said to me, they're like, no, I just think that's an excuse that people use. And I said, well, you know what, maybe it is an excuse that they use because they're not comfortable, right? So, you know, but I think also we have to recognize that that is a legitimate thing that people have. I don't even think people realize a lot of the time that the stress that this has put on us and the shift we've all had to make that the world has kind of forced us into, right? And that's like, yeah, sorry, you're right. Thank you so much for making me aware. I get talking and so thanks, Christine. I'm like, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so yes, so today we're going to talk about the 3 steps to removing roadblocks. Okay. And that's where I am now. So it was just the first slide. Okay, so COVID. So where I was going with that is I think that, you know, it is a valid concern. And, you know, people do have kids that are home from school and it is a huge amount of stress. I don't have kids, but I can tell you when I'm talking to people who do, they look like totally different people. Sometimes they're so tired, they can just barely keep their eyes open because they're trying to manage everything. So this could create a huge roadblock in your life. And so then, you know, when this happens, and we're going to talk about how to deal with that, but, you know, you need to click into organizational mode and start booking some of your time blocking some of your day into doing your business and moving forward, because otherwise all of these things are just going to run you down. Okay. Like I know that I make, you know, I try to make a half hour to take even just our dogs out for a walk, to go outside. And get some fresh air. Sometimes I could sit here for like 16 hours in the chair and work. I mean, and I'm sure you've all been that. Can anybody else relate to that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, it took me 2 months to realize I had a weekend again in March or April. I'm like, oh my God. My husband's like, how long do you think you can keep this up? Right? It was crazy. So another block that I've noticed is, and we talked a bit about this yesterday, about giving and receiving. So as women, we are great givers. We're brought up to give, help, but we're not taught to receive. It's something we have to learn a lot of the time. And once you start to receive things, you're going to realize that, and you don't have to feel guilty about it. Okay. Because when you're receiving, it's your due, just as giving is, right? And if you guys don't have that balance, it's not going to allow you to move, because you're going to be stuck in giving mode all the time. And then you're eventually, what's going to happen is you're going to get resentful. I just keep giving and no one's helping me, right? What you need to remember, and sometimes this can be a painful lesson, is that you come first more than anything else. Okay. And until you realize that, you can't help other people, right? Be willing to receive whatever's coming your way, however it shows up. Okay. Giving and receiving. I could have a whole conversation about that. And then, you know, the other thing I found that was blocking people is they weren't feeling validated as a leader or a successful business person. And you know what, that's just leads back to self-esteem, because what do you need validation for is my question. You know, do you need to be validated that you stepped up and did all this work? If that's not coming from your higher ups, then you need to have a conversation with them. You know, why don't we have a recognition program? Why am I not being recognized? Is there something I still need to do? So, go ahead.
I think it's very different for the majority of us on this call because we don't have higher ups. We are the higher up. So that recognition, yeah, we have to figure out how to find that, where to get it from. And would you agree, Laura? Like as a solopreneur, or I have 5 people on my team, but they're all looking at me for everything. So if we crush it, I'm like, woo. I tell them, but who says to me, you rocked it, girl, right? So we have to find other things to help us fill that void. I don't know if you have any suggestions on that.
Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
So that was great. That was going to be the second part of my conversation. But I love that you preempted me because you're like so on the ball. But you know, as Christine said, a lot of the time we don't have a higher up, so it's all about us. And so what you need to be doing with the people you're working with is you need to start asking them questions and saying, how did that feel to you? What did you think of that? Did you get anything out of that? What did you notice change because we did that together? Right. And so they're going to give you feedback. And that is a good way, you know, if you're running a workshop. I mean, for instance, Kate, I know you're running the workshop. Like I would be getting feedback and testimonials from people, right? Video and verbal. And, you know, that's where that's your higher up saying, hey, great job, you did it. And that's going to make you feel validated. And, you know, maybe some of the input isn't as good as you want it to be. Maybe it's a criticism or a constructive criticism. Take that as well, because that's just going to make you better at what you do. You know, if it's just someone's opinion and they just want to crap on you, there's nothing you can do about that. It's just their point of view. But you'll know the difference. Okay. So that's
absolutely.
Yeah.
So I was going to suggest that too, is that Christine, something that I've been thinking about a lot, and this is creating either a mastermind or what do they call it, an executive board that's, you know, and what parameters do you want to create around that? People that are kind of in the same position as we are, and we get together once a week or, you know, once every 2 weeks, where it's about us congratulating and validating each other to lift each other up, so that we have a place for that when we're in a place where we don't have that opportunity to have that validation and support. We have to create the environment for that.
Exactly. Good point. Hi guys, if you wouldn't mind muting when you're not speaking, that would be helpful. Yeah, for sure. Masterminds are I like what you said though, board of directors. Right?
I think I like that better. I mean, I don't know. I mean, mastermind would be something different than that, because
I think mastermind, in my opinion and experience, is something different opposed to a board of directors. A board of directors almost makes it sound like we're the equal here, opposed to. But anyway,
Agreed.
I could be wrong.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Yeah, that's why I said board of directors after.
Yeah. All right. Sorry, Laura.
No, don't be sorry. Like, this is what I want, interaction here, you guys. And, you know, the other thing that I want to, like a good example of what you just said, Kate, is I belong to this organization called the Association of Women Martial Arts Instructors. So it's all the women martial arts instructors all over the world. And, you know, I've been on their board twice. And the thing I love about this organization is this is exactly what it's made for. Women who don't have instructors anymore, women who have been burned or removed from their school, women who have had a hard time where they are, and they don't have a path to not only higher level training, but to promotion, right? And so this has really served our international community in that way really well. So I have nothing but good things to say about that. Yeah. So
I'm getting downloads right now, Kate, on the BOD.
Cool. And the last thing I wanted to bring up was, you know, and I really love this one because it just really starts to make our brains work, is what do I have to offer? Because a lot of the time we have an idea about that. And we kind of talked about this yesterday, and I did put it in the discussion, but why is that getting in your way? Do you think what you might want to offer additionally, or, you know, for your business is not good enough? Like, why won't you come forward with that idea? Because you don't think it's valid. But I can tell you, until you step into that, it's never going to happen one way or the other. And it could be because of something someone said to you, or you read, or you saw, that you're like, no, you know what, it's not going to work. I'm just not going to try, right? And that shouldn't be good enough for you, because you are a powerful being and you need to step into that. So those are a few of the things that I noticed were the most common roadblocks. So hopefully, like, you guys recognize some. You know, if there's some I missed, like, please bring them up, because we want to hear about that, because we don't know if just you are seeing that. It might apply to other people as well.
Can you list those again? Just one word for each. You said fear.
Sure, absolutely. So living conditions, money, self-esteem, fear, not connecting enough with people, being like the introvert extrovert, COVID, receiving and giving, not feeling validated, and what do I have to offer? Like, well, Is it good enough? Is it even doable? And there are lots of other blocks that come up, and some of those are deeper. I know I didn't clear a lot of my stuff until I was in my early 40s when circumstances brought things up that I could look at.
Well, I can also imagine that as we evolve in our careers and our businesses, the roadblocks change.
That's right. You know, it's funny.
Or would you say the roadblocks are just always there? They look different. I don't know.
You know, I think it's a combination of both, depending on your circumstance. Because I think that if those roadblocks didn't come up, we wouldn't grow as human beings. And so it's like your baggage, man. You know, everybody looks at baggage like it's a bad thing. It's not. You worked your whole life for that baggage. What you need to decide is how much of it do you want to bring with you that's serving you, and how much do you want to get rid of? Because bring some of it with you, because not only is that going to help contribute to the lessons you've learned and the things that you know you want to do and don't do, it's going to be able to help others, right? So baggage is not a bad thing. I just think we need to have perspective on it. Okay. Let me get in here. I'm actually going to move the slide. Okay. So we're going to recognize our roadblocks today. That's all we're going to really have time for. And then usually we evaluate them. Do I want to keep it? Do I don't? Do I not? The pros and cons. And then we I show you how to remove them. I am going to touch on this today. I'm not just going to leave you guys hanging. Okay. So those are usually the 3 steps to removing roadblocks. And today we're going to talk about recognizing your roadblocks. Okay. So this was the first screen that I just talked about. I've been behind a few screens. Sorry about that. And next I want to talk about, I want you to take a look at, is it mental, emotional, physical, or spiritual, or a combination of those? And identifying this will make it really clear to get to the root of what's blocking you. Okay. So I'll give you an example. So if something is mental, you know, I see it with my dog all the time. As a puppy, he didn't think he could jump over a box, right? Because he wasn't big enough. And yet when I gave him the treat on the top of the box and he knew it was on the other side, he leaped it, no problem, right? And so it's just like, is your mental, if something's blocking you mentally, I think what you need to really ask, and you can ask yourself in all 4 of these, is it really real? Or am I just choosing that because I don't want to move forward? So a lot of the time, we judge ourselves, and we're, you know, good point, Anana. We are the kings and queens of judging ourselves. And we think other people do a good job of judging us, not even close to what we can do to ourselves. You know, and really once you start to open that door and remove those blocks, you're going to find the self-judgment about yourself starts to disappear and you step into the greatness of who you are. So with each of the things that I talked about at the, you know, first point, you can apply this. Is it mental, emotional, physical, or spiritual? You know, is it physically stopping me from moving forward in my business and, you know, organizing my desk, or you know, allowing me to go out and get a marketing person? Or is it emotional because I think I'm not good enough? I'm not willing to receive the success I deserve. You know, I don't think people will love me enough or like me enough. And I'm just not good enough. Or is it spiritual? You know, am I living in a fixed mindset where I have everything I have and I want success and it's up here, but I really like this, you know, box where I'm comfortable, right? And so once you start to open that box, the universe starts to bring in all this stuff and you start to ask these questions around all of these things. And you don't need answers. That's the thing about human beings. You know, we ask a question, we expect an answer. Okay. And yeah, I agree, Fernanda. It's usually a combination of a lot of things coming up for people. So a great example here, Agata, she came in, I have a blog about my Instagram makeup page. I think I'll just remove a few people who I think will judge me. Hey, you are on the right track, right? Because, you know, what you need to ask here is, are these people serving me? And is it contributing to my outcome? We talked about this yesterday. So is this contributing to me? And what is my outcome here? What is your outcome on your page? Is it to get 1 million followers? Is it to be visible? Is it to contribute to the success of my website? So I want you to take each of those things that I brought up first and then apply it to hear. And on the worksheet, I think you guys have the worksheet. We do talk about that. So you'll be able to lay that out. Any questions about this? Because I really think this is a good position. Just making sure we got time. Oh my gosh, we're already a half hour in. Okay, so I'm going to move on. Okay, mental, emotional, physical, or spiritual, or a combination of that. Next, where does it come from? I love this one because I'm going to give you lots of options. And I'm also going to give you a couple techniques to get rid of stuff really quickly that's not serving you if you want to choose that. You guys know I'm a holistic practitioner. I've been doing it for 20 years. Helping people get free of the things that are holding them back is something that I love to do. And I've seen so many people step into their power. Yeah, that's great, Marianne. You know, getting really clear about defining what and recognizing what's holding you back is really the key to your success. Okay. So what you want to do is you want to think about, where does this come from? Because as human beings, we like to figure things out. And once we feel we understand them and have created a solution for ourselves, then we can move forward. I got to the point, and this is where I want you guys to get to, is I don't care where it came from. I just want to get rid of it, right? So I don't need to understand the whole process. Maybe sometimes I do about some things. Maybe somebody really pisses me off and I'm like, what is your deal? Right? But I get to the point where if it's not contributing to me, I'm moving on. Okay. But right now, yeah, we can look at the details of that, right? Mostly old habits. Okay. And we're going to cover that right now. So here are some options for you about where it comes from. And I'm going to hit on these a little bit and do just a little bit of a talk about each one. The first one is family. I love my family. You cannot choose your family. Your family has probably contributed to giving you most of the stuff you don't need. And I'm going to be absolutely straight about that. So, you know, we talked about this yesterday. Your mom and your dad, it's their job to bring you up as the good daughter and have good morals and have good behavior and just, you know, be a functioning human being in society. But unfortunately, they brought all their stuff in with it. Okay. And it's not always bad stuff, but it can be good stuff as well. And I'll give you an example about money from my mom. Right. Cleaning your house daily. I clean my house daily energetically, believe me. My mom has a poverty mindset and she cannot receive. And she's had it all of her life because of the circumstances in her life. And so as a child, when she brought us up, I was always told money doesn't grow on trees. We just have enough to get by this month. Your dad didn't pay me the support. My parents were divorced when I was very young and my mom remarried. We'll never have enough. We never went on family holidays. We never spent things on extraneous things. Spent money on extraneous things. So it was very much, and you know, we weren't poor. We lived in a middle to upper class house with a pool. But this mindset that she had was what she brought us up on. And it wasn't till, you know, I moved out of the house and started being an entrepreneur. I'm like, wait a minute here. That's not how I feel about money. That's not how I feel about, you know, so I just decided I wasn't going to have my mom's mindset about that. Okay. Yeah, Christine, that's really interesting. So what you can do about the whole family thing, the things that your parents have given to you, and you know, they could be any one of those things we talked about in the first, you can just return it to sender. You literally have to say those words, return to sender with consciousness attached. And this may be too woo-woo for you, that's okay. But if you say those words, all of those things that aren't serving you about your family, you're just giving it back to them. It doesn't hurt them. They just have an awareness about it energetically. And, you know, I think a lot of the women in the mob group are, you know, they are in touch with themselves energetically a little bit. So, you know, just, you know, return it to sender with consciousness attached and stop saying those things. Because the other thing you want to think about when you get into this is you got to ask yourself, is this real? Okay. Or am I just repeating this because that's what I've created for myself? Because that's what my parents taught me. Right. And I really want you guys to look at that. Yeah. Money grows on my trees, man. I got money trees in my backyard like you wouldn't believe. And they are growing big. Okay.
So I say, you know, from the last class, Laura, that you ran in December, you asked, what are your blockages? I'm like, I don't know. And we had this discussion about how can I find out what my blockages are? And this whole idea with money, as I said in the chat box, we didn't grow up with money. We had no money. We lived paycheck to paycheck. And so I think I grew up with I have money, I'm holding on to it. And I think money needs to flow, right, ladies? Some of you are money ladies and you get this. Money needs to flow. Money needs to come and go. And maybe my blockage is just kind of like, okay, I got it. I'm not letting it go now. I don't know if anyone has any thoughts on that.
Yeah, that's really common, right? And Christine, I got to be honest, I don't see you like that. You're the only one who sees you like that, right? Like, I see you as this incredibly, I see you as this incredibly prosperous person, right? And that includes money. And so, yeah, like you're the only one who sees that.
Christine, I'm surprised that you even would say that, because I would never ever have thought of that of you.
I mean, not in like I'm greedy and I have to have it. That's not what I mean. It's just that.
No, I understand, but it's not like that. It's not an image that you project outside of your own head, at least.
And you realize this isn't judgment. They're telling you, you are already a prosperous human being. You're the one who has to believe it. And,
yeah, I know.
And all you have to say, ladies, is you just have to put the questions out there. You don't need the answers. What else can I do to make money? How can I have more money in my bank account? How can I have endless amounts of money in my bank account? And put it out there, right? And money grows on my trees. How many money trees can I have? And I'm telling you, this will change the energy around money for you. Okay. And there's no judgment in this group. We're just letting you know, like, these for everybody, not just Christine. This is how we see you. Like, I see you guys as huge money makers. I am a money making machine. I am a money magnet. And that's what I choose, right? And my mom, when I go home, it makes it even more apparent how different my point of view about money is from my mom, right? And so once you start to do this, you may not see the changes, but when you get in contact with those people who used to think in the mindset that you do, you are definitely going to see the change, all right? So shift into that money mindset. Okay. Wow, that was a good conversation. Any other comments? I'd love to hear.
It's hard to see from yourself, because you're with yourself every day. It's when you, like what you said, going back to or looking at like your parents or maybe family, and how different your mindset is, for sure.
Right.
And
yeah.
I actually, that whole thing, Christine, as far as not seeing that, again, it goes back to our brains as women are designed to see what's missing. And so it takes us some extra work to see and to congratulate ourselves for how far we've come, or just where we are right now even. And to congratulate ourselves and to reward and to acknowledge when we recognize that what we're doing is we're making ourselves see what's missing, or what am I not doing right, or what am I not doing. This is a constant thing for women, and it's something that we, if we know that this is just a sort of a natural process of our brain, because it comes from the whole nature to nurture and nest and protect and do all those things, that we've turned it upon ourselves, then when we start to recognize and congratulate ourselves, it feels really weird. And I know that this is something for me that's a big deal. And so, and I know it's a big deal for many other people, and we don't realize that this is our natural way that our brain works, but we can shift it.
That's right. Yeah, absolutely. Great comments. Yeah. And I think, from yeah, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I know that positive affirmations about money helps to change your mindset. So when you repeat them daily, and you make an effort and really write down 5 or 10 affirmations, and then repeat them 5 minutes in the morning, 5 minutes in the evening, it helps to create a shift within you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Don't honor other people's stuff, man. You got enough going on. And from all the comments you guys have made, what I'm noticing is you all just need to be bigger, right? You need to expand. I don't mean your bodies. I just mean our thinking, our thoughts, our success, our leadership, our businesses. So be bigger, you know, because all of that shit, excuse my French, because I speak a lot of French, tends to just slough away and it becomes unimportant. And then everything starts to get super clear and things start to come in. Because if we think about playing small, that's where we're going to stay. And as leaders, and so Christine, I hope it's okay to use you as an example. Christine is an incredible leader who has room for everybody. I don't know, I don't think you guys even understand how rare that is, right? To have space for everybody and listen to what they say and just be a part of them, that's a huge deal, right? And, you know, we all need to strive to be bigger like that, right? And even bigger than that to step into our power. I was interviewed on this international summit yesterday, and you know, we were talking about, you know, what is that. They asked me about this, like, what is it that's holding people back? And I'm like, a lot of it's our childhood and the way we were brought up, you know, and, you know, there are different factors, but, you know, if we can really not take on the stuff that's not serving us as children, you know, all of a sudden our lives are going to expand. You know, it took me, until I was 40 before I realized I didn't have to answer to my mom anymore. Like, are you kidding me? Right. You know, and it's just like, you know, yeah, dream as big as you can and just step into that, right? Okay, so I want to stay on track. Yeah, we're getting, okay. So then a couple other places that we can look at where these things are coming from. So I talked about family, which is probably the biggest one. Friends is another one. You know, all those friends who try to put stuff on us, right? And you guys all know it, right? And through your lives, you've had friends who've stayed around for a season, a year, a lifetime. And, you know, when friends like that aren't serving you anymore, then you got to move on because your vibration and their vibration has changed, right? And so what you do is when it's just not working out with certain people, more people will come in at a higher level that do. Okay, so you really have to be clear about that. And, you know, it could be as simple as clearing your people on your friends list who don't serve you anymore, that, you know, really you don't talk to and they don't contribute to you and you don't really contribute to them. You know, and we had a good comment in the chat there. I think that you need to start writing down what it is that you love to do if you don't know how to dream big. Okay, and just make a list of that. Okay, and that's where I would start. Okay, what do you love to do? What brings you joy? Because that's where we all need to live to move forward. Okay, family, friends. And the next one, which I thought was really interesting, is ancestral, and that relates back to family. I know, for instance, in my family, on my mom's side, my grandfather was a drunk and he beat my grandmother and my mom. Like, I know that verbal and mental abuse was there. And I know that happened generations ago. And so sometimes when it's things that are blocking us, it can be generational. So take a look at that. And especially in a lot of different cultures, that's very prevalent, not in a bad way, but, you know, the idea is to continue on the culture of certain habits, right? And those can become blocks for us as well. Okay. The next one is survival. And we've kind of been in this survival mode for the last year, roughly, you know, 8 months. So do you want to survive or do you want to thrive? Right. And so what is it that you're just surviving on where you really want to thrive? And Agata, this is another good one for you. Okay. So if you want to thrive, again, it's just a choice. So why do you want to thrive? That's what I want to, you know, and what is the block that's stopping you from thriving? And, you know, I want to talk about fear for a second before I go on with this. And I know we're getting close to our time, but what I really want you guys to think about with fear is it really fear or is it just showing up as fear because it's excitement? And I really want you to think about that. Okay.
Fear, false evidence appearing real.
Right, exactly. So are you just really excited about it, but it's like, I don't know, I can't do it because I'm going to jump in, or is it really excitement? And you know, fear to me is when something absolutely paralyzes and terrorizes me. And I'm not afraid of anything. Like when I say I'm afraid of, when I'm afraid of the next year because it's unknown and I'm doing stuff that I'm not comfortable with, that's not fear, that's excitement, right? So really take a look at how that shows up in your life, okay? And then I want to go back to where does it come from? So past failures. You know, I don't know if you guys know the story of Colonel Sanders. He never hit his jackpot till he was in his 70s. He went through so many businesses, failed so many times, declared bankruptcy so many times. It was incredible. And he still kept going. And, you know, for me as a world champion, it took me four tries at the world championships for silvers and bronzes. You know, the fifth try, I finally hit my gold medal, and I wasn't willing to give up until that was there. So what are you willing to not give up on in your life? Okay. And what is it that's blocking you from that? Okay. So where does that come from? Is it because you failed before? Because that's just not a good enough excuse. And if you're using that as an excuse, you should take a look at why. Okay. Habits. Someone mentioned this. Yeah. So it's a habit. So I'm just going to keep doing it. And I've been doing it forever. So what you want to do with your habits is you want to be asking, is this contributing to me? And is it offering me the outcome I'm looking for? Because if it's not, get rid of it. And, you know, I did this, I'm, you know, kind of in the middle of doing this 31-day challenge thing. And, you know, that was one of the things that I did the second day is I had people make a list of what are your old habits and what of your old habits are still serving you and what aren't. Okay. And then on the other side of the page, I made a list of the new habits that I need to create to move forward. Right. So again, I'm taking some of my baggage with me, but only the stuff that's working with me. Right. You know, Kate made a good example here. I think sometimes the word big enough is for me a roadblock. To me, the perspective needs to be what's important enough for me to move forward, what really matters to me. For example, when I was introduced to jazz, it touched my heart deeply enough to work through my stage fright. My desire was to learn the music regardless if I never sung on another stage in my life. As a result, I became a professional vocalist. Right? So it's whatever path serves you. But what I want you to do is I want you to work on recognizing what's blocking you from getting there. Okay. And the last couple of things that I've got here, that was pretty much it, was habits. Any comments about that before I move into the last slide? Okay, cool. The last slide is why am I choosing it? And we kind of did touch on this in the other areas of the organization. And Christine, I'm wondering if you have any insights about what you kind of came to when we were talking about this before.
Sorry, I was just talking to my son.
No problem.
Why am I choosing it? Why am I choosing to move past my roadblocks?
No, like why are you choosing your roadblocks? I know that we kind of had a conversation.
So my whole thing in our last session was I didn't actually know what I did not have awareness about what my roadblocks were. I knew something was in my way, but I couldn't identify it. There was no tangible thing. So I did come to the realization that a lot of it had to do with money. And what I didn't say before was it was about not charging enough, because somehow I don't know. I was of the opinion that, oh, I got to hold on to this money. I got to make this money. I got to keep this money. I can't lose this money. Well, why should I charge people? They don't have money. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely.
And so I was not recognizing the value that the offering brought. Yeah, does that make sense? Sorry.
That totally makes sense.
Wife will give you that.
So if you guys are
done.
if you could put yourself on mute.
Okay, sorry.
It's Joanna. Joanna? Okay, she looks like she's...
Yeah, sorry.
It's okay.
And Laura, I tried, but you have host now. So.
Okay, yes, sorry. Okay.
That's okay. Yeah, so again, my issue was not being able to recognize what it was. Money is definitely one of them. And then somehow seeing the value and charging more for my services. Does that make sense?
Totally makes sense.
I still don't have it figured out. Believe me, I still have a ways to go to fix and repair and
you know, and it's just like remember, this is like shopping for shoes, guys, right? Like, so maybe some of this is going to resonate, some of it doesn't. Some of it, makes you uncomfortable. You're like, I don't want this. This is just not making me feel good. Whatever it is that's pushing your buttons or not, it's up to you to make the changes. I'm just here to facilitate whatever that's going to be or whatever you want. Okay. I don't have a point of view if you do or don't. I want the best and most for you. So if I can help with that, great. If that's not something you want, that's fine too. So I want to get into our last comment here, which is why I am choosing it. And I'll just give you some options to look at. The first one is survival. I feel I need to do this because I'm just getting by. Okay. Another one is you have no other choice. That's probably the worst one for me because I don't like feeling trapped. And I think when we feel trapped, we go nowhere. We're frozen, right? So when you want to create more space around that no other choice, you have to start asking questions. What else is possible for me? What do I love? What do I want? And what's getting in the way. So that starts to open that door, even if it's just a crack, so that you're not feeling trapped. Because what happens is you spiral down into just not a good place. And that's really hard to get out of. Okay. So having no choice is really a choice, believe it or not. So choose something different. Choose to have more. Okay. Why are you choosing it? I'm not sure what to do. I have no guidance, and that's when you start to lean on other people. Okay. Lean on the people that are around you. And, a lot of the time that's not your family, right? It can be your friends, the people that support you in this group. It can be, I pick 5 people in my life who are my power of 5, and I collaborate with those people. And that is my tribe and my team. And I help them and they help me. And it has not only made me stronger, it's made them stronger. Okay. And those are really important things. Why am I choosing it? It's ingrained. Oh my gosh, my husband. I could kill him about this. He's been divorced twice. And, at the beginning of our marriage, he's like, yeah, it's a learned response. I'm like, no, it's not. You're choosing that. Stop using that as an excuse. It's like creating a new habit, just like Kate was talking about. It's totally easy to do. You just have to start shifting your mindset about that and really owning where you want to be. Okay. And, the one that's really common is I don't want to change, yeah, I don't want to change. I'm good how I am. And if that's the way you are, then that's fine. There's no judgment about that. Then, be in that comfort zone. Okay. But you all clicked on this link to come here for something. And what was that? That's what you really want to be looking at. What is it that you want? Okay. And self-sabotage. Isn't that a good one? We've all done it at least once. We're really good at it, especially as women. Because, we'll put all the other things in our lives first before us. Okay. We come first. So if you want to self-sabotage yourself, then, that's good. Again, you're putting yourself in that cycle. But if you'd like to get out of that self-sabotage and choose greater and choose more for yourself, it's as simple as a choice. Okay. And if that's your block, then all you have to do is start deciding your path to where you want to be. It's as simple as that. Okay. And lean on the people around you. And this one is good too. Do I really want to be successful? Right. So again, that can
move the screens forward.
Pardon me?
Is there a screenshot slides?
No, I'm still in why I'm choosing it. Yeah.
Okay, no problem. No problem. Thank
you. But what I can do is send you these like all in the 4 and just so people have the outline for sure. And this is very in sync with what's in the worksheet. But yeah, Christine, no problem, people. I'll give you my notes on these 4 so you guys have it because I really think these are important and we can send it out to everybody. No problem. Okay. And the last one that I had are, again, why are you choosing it? It's a habit. Okay, that goes along with ingrained. So really, you really have to use a reprogramming of belief systems to embrace change. And a lot of this, like I said, is doable. There's nothing that really you can be stuck in forever. No one's holding you there except yourself, right? And I'm gonna just stop the share and we'll just have the last few minutes for Q&A. Yeah, any questions, comments, you know, discussion? I'd love to hear from you guys. Yeah, look at you all, you look great. You made it. Yeah. So tell me, what do you find, like if you're willing to be vulnerable, what would you say is the number one thing that is the block that you recognize about yourself and your business? Just unmute.
Am I willing to be successful?
Right. Yeah, common.
Yeah,
well,
I have an underrunning, like Christine, you were mentioning as far as what the perspective was as a child. And I recognize that I come from generations, I believe, of surviving. And I think that we don't really get that we're in a space of survival. What does that look like? Because everybody sees it differently. So what I mean by surviving is what ends up happening, because I'm passionate about a ton of things. I love life. I have an amazing life, but I recognize that I get stuck into this place of doing it for the money and forgetting the passion. You know what I'm saying? So then what happens is it's like, how do I make enough money so that I can survive, as opposed to really stepping into the place of valuing, because I think that line, I was trying to sort of bring the line down to something really narrow. It's like asking the question of, am I stuck in the place right now of doing this for money, and where is the passion that's driving all of it? So then looking at separating. So a gift for me was, Agatha and I just started doing this workshop together. And for me, it's totally been about joy, fun, and teaching.
And I can see that. I saw your video today.
Oh, did you? And not even thinking about the money, and recognizing finally the line that goes, do what you love and the money will come. The second thing is that, and I haven't made this phone call yet, but I want to start making some phone calls and just go to these old folks' homes, because I figured out a way to actually go there and entertain without even being in their space, but being live in front of them. So, and again, I heard God say to me, don't make any of it about the money.
Yeah, you don't have to.
No. And the thing is that we talk about that, but we don't talk about the fact that we have all of this stuff that's going on underneath. And that's what's so cool. And Laura, this is such a great opportunity in this, and again, this, what you've created, and to have that conversation, you know, what each person has to say and how it brings up things for us in our own life, you know, as opposed to working on it by ourselves. Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah, you're never alone. That's really good. Yeah. And you know, you guys are all, if you're not there already, at the point where people are coming to you, and you are amazing human beings because you are a space for these people, and that's what they need. Like, I'm just holding space for all of you, right? Whatever shows up, I'm willing to have that.
I think Tamaya was unmuting herself earlier when you asked what was their aha moment, or what came to mind.
Oh,
is that right, Tamaya? Don't mean to put
but I was like, okay, I'm willing to let it slide. I don't need to like broadcast it. But thanks, Christine. I think for me, it's always kind of that money aspect, but I liked what you said about, I wrote it down and it was something that made me think, like, I make assumptions about what people can afford, right? So I'm like, okay, cool. Well, I don't want to charge this much for the workshop because people don't have money right now and it's COVID and everybody's saying money's tight. So if I'm going to ask more, then they're not going to come, and then it's not even going to happen. So then I talk myself out of it, right? Rather than, and like a friend and I, we just collabed on a workshop, and it was actually her husband and mother-in-law were like, you guys aren't asking enough. So her and I are like, you know what, they've come to us and asked us to do it, so let's just go in there. What are we gonna, and we went in there with a pretty big number, and they just came back and said, yeah, we're in. And we're like, what? Like, okay. But yeah, I think that's, I have to look at what I wrote down because there was another thing and I was very surprised.
We have to stop deciding for other people.
Right? Yeah. I hate people making decisions for me. So why am I making decisions for people I don't even know? Like, it's stupid, right? Oh, and you know what? The other aha was in like the fear of success, because I've had this, I'm like, cool, I'm amazing with accepting money, receiving, sure, give it to me. But I think the one hesitation is that I have this weird belief that when I am like a Tony Robbins or at that level, you know, when they say, oh, you know, I travel for like 40, or well, I think it's more, 48 weeks of a year and I don't see my family. For me, I'm like, I don't want that trade-off, that I'm up here and I'm operating at this level and yeah, I'm making the money and yeah, I'm succeeding all this, but I'm a shitty mom and I have no connection with what I do now, like, and my overall wellness. So I think that's one of my holdbacks, right?
Wow, that's a serious expectation you just put on yourself.
Well, no, but then I already talked it through because I was like, right. No, I have my schedule and I have my routine and I just keep those and I bring those up with me. And then I have hold boundaries, right?
You're good. Yeah, you're good. Yeah. Wow, I could see why you would talk yourself out of it. I'm like, wow, she's really good at that. Yeah. You know, like, we're good at it, right? So, but it's good that you turned it around, right? Like, I just really have to agree with you. Like, we are amazing human beings, but unfortunately, we don't always focus our energy on the amazing side. It's the other side we tend to focus on. So I want you guys to shift into the other side. And I want to see you up there at, you know, the law of the lid, up in the 9s and 10s, because that's where you all belong. And I can tell you, you guys don't charge enough money for what you do. People have money. They will spend money on you, whether it's COVID or not.
Can I share something?
Yeah, absolutely.
If you don't charge them money, they're going to go somewhere else and spend it. Since COVID, that's what I've learned. I was like, I'm not charging. No one's making money. I'm putting out all effort, energy, work, scheduling, putting it up here, reminding people. And I see them off paying 40 bucks, 50 bucks. I'm like, what the F?
Yeah.
Not there. I'm not blaming them. It's a what the F on me.
Yeah. Just right? Charge more money. Yeah. People have it.
This discussion has evolved a lot about money and around me. Please note, it's not about the money. It's about it's about, like what you said yesterday, what the money can do for you. If I have more money, then I can put more into promotion and I can do
You're worth it, Christine. You're worth it.
Sorry.
You're all worth it. And I'm sure money has come up for all of us. I don't think that's
Amber, were you going to say something, Amber?
I think somebody else was going to say, but I really wanted to say that if you give things free and you don't charge money, people don't value it.
Yeah. I was just going to say that. Yeah, thank you. I was just going to say that.
Yeah, we had somebody attend a workshop with us and didn't even follow
Laura,
through.
Can you mute Joanna, please?
Sorry, I'm muting.
I think Joanna. Can you just mute?
I got you. Okay, we're good.
Sorry. Thank you.
Just unmute Joanna when you want to talk.
Yeah. Sorry, I missed the end of that. Zeba was saying people don't value you.
Yeah, I was just going to say the same thing, and she said it for me, so that's wonderful. Okay. That if you don't charge, people will not value what you're doing. They just won't.
Yes.
And then Agatha, you said someone came to your workshop, or what was that?
Yeah, I invited somebody to our first workshop, and I was grateful for something that she had done for me. So I wanted to do it as a thank you. And at the same time, she was very excited to come to the workshop, but afterwards she never followed through. There was no other, she just showed up. And that was it. And
everybody that didn't pay didn't do anything.
Didn't do anything.
Yeah.
Right. Everyone that did like put the X amount, $20, $30, $40, whatever it was, they followed through. Because they had put money on it.
That's right.
Yeah. So they had put something in themselves. Even charging $10 or whatever, I don't remember what it is, Christine, you charge. It meant that I put it in my calendar. It meant that it was enough, although I didn't think it was enough, $10. But anyway.
I'll just say something that I learned only one level of Reiki, and in that they said that the money needs to flow, even if it's just a little bit. It needs, there's some kind of energy that it needs to be, somehow it creates some vibration that it needs to go. Something has to be given. If it's not money, it has to be something that has
An
to be
exchange.
given. An exchange has to happen. So I think that is kind of important lesson for all of us.
I agree. You guys are great. This is amazing. Thank you. I love
Sorry,
the
I don't mean to
interaction.
interrupt again, but Amber, I'm sorry, Amber, did you have your hand up earlier and then, or not? No, okay, sorry. I saw you move earlier. Does anybody else want to share?
Yeah. You're on mute. You're on mute is a new part of our English language, by the way.
There we go. Sorry, I had trouble
I'm
unmuting.
mute. Okay. For me, coming from Europe, it was exactly family that would say those things and you get used to. One of the things my mom would always say is, don't ask the neighbors, don't go here, don't go. I was very protected not to do anything. And you think to yourself, these days, it makes an impact because you hear, don't ask people, don't talk to this person, don't say that you need this. So what we needed was in the house. We would not be talking to the neighbors about anything. And it's like, that's not good. So, and it's just realizing that that was where it came from. The money doesn't grow on trees and all of those things we heard. We never were hungry. We always had enough, but we always heard those words. So that's what this brought to me. And it was realizing where it came from. And no, it doesn't help us. So there's going to be a big change.
Good for you. That's awesome.
Thank you.
Awesome. Suzanne, did you have a comment? Yeah, my pleasure. Yeah. Yeah, my pleasure. Suzanne, did you want to come on out?
Yeah, so I had past tense, fear of selling. And I come from a sales background. I was the #1 salesperson in the last 2 jobs I had. So I can do it. But for some reason, well, I know why now. I couldn't put myself out there because I didn't want to be presumed or looked at as a used car salesman or pushy or, you know, trying to shove things down people's throats. And a lot of it was related to how I was treated by my past bosses. And all 3 past bosses were exactly the same. Different people, but different jobs, but the same in that they didn't value what I did. Even though at one job I was the #1 salesperson with a $6 million budget. But I wasn't valued.
Yeah, and you're getting the message 3 times. Wow.
Yeah. Kept picking the same bosses. Don't know how I did that.
There you go. Yeah, but
pattern.
Yeah, exactly. So what I've done now is I've taken the part I do a lot of parts work. So the part of me that was afraid of selling, I called authority, where I wanted to be valued and appreciated. And then there was the other part of me, which is my big dream, Oprah on a big stage. Nice. And I've taken the parts of authority that I really liked, that I need. And I've said to myself that that's okay to be like, have those, but I've let go of the part where I you know, I'm not a used car salesman. I'm valuable. I have valuable information to share with people. And I've kind of taken that word selling out of it so that
just use the word influence instead of selling.
Yeah.
And you know, it's funny because you're all going to get to the point where you're like, yeah, I'll be a used car salesman. I'm happy to do that. I love that I'm judged about that because I make more money every time somebody judges me and I don't really care. So I'll have that. You can think of me that way because it's just your point of view and not mine. So I'll take that. But I understand what you're saying. Like right now, like I just need to disassociate that and use the good parts of that to move forward. And you're eventually going to get to the point, Suzanne, where you're up here, where you
it doesn't matter.
You can't, like, it's just, you can't worry about that. Right. And that person, you know, the biggest gift you could give them and just say, I really appreciate your input. I wish you got to know me a little better, and just leave it. Like, let that person go think about it.
Or just focus on the people that do need your help.
Yeah, you know,
right?
like there's so many.
Yeah, I'm learning just to, whoever resonates, and whoever doesn't,
absolutely,
that's okay. Yeah. And I have a saying that I try and remember to tell myself, interesting point of view, just like you said.
That's right. Interesting point of view.
Kind of disassociate with it.
That's
because
right, Kate. Yeah.
Point of view. Yeah. And that's all it is.
It's their point of view. Yeah.
Very neutral.
And then what else is possible here is the other thing I use all the time. And that just allows the question of whatever to come in, however it shows up. Yeah. You guys are awesome. I do have to get on another call, but I'd love to continue this conversation for another 3 hours. So tomorrow is going to be great because we're going to bring it all together and we're going to look at where you guys are now and what's happened over the last 2 days and have a conversation about that and bring it all in. I want you to know, like, I know a few people had to leave early, but you guys have really stepped into your power the last 2 days, and today has been amazing for all of you. And even though some of you don't speak up, I can see you thinking about things and processing everything, and that's okay too. You're perfect exactly where you are, and just know that you are enough. And no matter what anybody says, you are enough, okay? But if you want to be more, that's where you want to go, okay? All right, so I will see you all tomorrow. Thank you, Christine, for being an amazing host as usual. And we are going to collaborate then. I will see you at 10 a.m., ladies. Have an awesome, awesome day. Take care.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Laura. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks, Christine.
Yeah, thanks, Laura.
Thank you.
So, just like yesterday, if you want to just shoot me over the
I'll send you the 4 points and you can send it out with that. No problem.
Okay, yeah. And the recording, and that would be great.
And the recording, yeah, no problem. I'll do that for sure. Okay, and I'll stop the recording.